Hey, good morning guys, Touch coming at you. It's about 9:30 on Friday, September the 7th, and we're just having a look at the hood again. I'm trying to determine what I want to do. So here are the pits that we were talking about yesterday. Now, I'm going to be putting polyester primer on this, so technically the polyester primer would fill these pits. I think I'd feel a little bit better though if I did a little bit of sanding first to see how deep those pits went. Again, I'm not sure whether this is a reaction of some sorts or whether it might have just been a little bit of water coming out of the gun. But I think what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of sanding to investigate. I've got 3 coats of epoxy primer on here, so we've got lots of epoxy on it. So we'll get a bit of a scuff sand before we decide what we want to do as far as the next steps are concerned. Alright, I scuffed it down with 220 grit. I'm still within the window for the epoxy. There are still a few little pits, but I'm going to go ahead and try to cover it with the polyester primer. It should cover those pits no problem. It's just whether that's a reaction or not. I've cleaned the panel well with grease and wax remover. I've cleaned it with rubbing alcohol as well, so hopefully we won't have any further issues, but I'll let you know once I spray it. Alright guys, just coming up to 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, and we've got the bonnet hood into feather-filled G2, and it was quite the ordeal, and it didn't go well. What happened was I was going to plan on doing 3 coats of the G2 on the bonnet, and I managed to get 2 coats done. And when I came out to do the 3rd coat after flashing, the primer had absolutely gone almost solid, and actually even clogged my gun. I was lucky to get my gun cleaned out, and that was only after about a half an hour. So I was reading the pot life on the back of the can, and the pot life says 55 minutes on the back of the feather fill can. And I just reread it again because I thought I was being really stupid, and I was blaming myself for letting this go off. But it actually says maximum pot life 55 minutes on the back of this can. So after reading the tech sheet, I went inside and I was trying to figure out how I'm going to fix this now. So the pot life on the tech sheet online says 30 minutes. So that's quite a big difference. So basically I wasted a third of this little can, which was going to be my 3rd coat on this hood, and actually I probably would have been in pretty good shape. But like I said, I was having some pot life issues, and I started getting, the primer started spitting out because it was, globbing up inside the gun, for example. So I've got some bits to sand out, but I really wanted an extra coat to fill, those pits I was talking about. Pretty much filled what I needed to fill up in this area here, but there's a couple here that probably would have been filled with 1 more coat, but I never made it that far, so I'm a little upset from that perspective. So anyway, I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to sand what we need to sand, and we're going to get all this dirt out of here, or globs of feather fill. Not too bad, but got to be removed, obviously. And then I think what we'll do is we'll sand where we need to sand down. There's an area here, for example, that's not going to be able to be filled with feather fill. It's an area that I missed as far as body filler was concerned. So we'll sand this area down with 80 grit and reduce some body filler here. And I also see a pretty substantial dent back here. Small one, but deep. And you won't be able to see it probably from this angle, but it's just around this area here. I've got this small dent here that I never realized I had before. So we're going to go ahead and fix that as well. So again, I think what's going to happen now is we're just going to go sand this back in certain areas, do some body filler work, and then we'll probably, I've got to buy more filler now. So I think what we'll end up doing is after we sand down and repair what needs to be repaired, I think I'll go buy some regular 2K high build primer and then spray a couple coats of the high build before we wet sand that down. So this hood's becoming a lot more work than I needed it to be or wanted it to be, but anyway, we'll make it right. It's just going to take a little bit longer. Alright, that's it for now. It's kind of funny that those blobs that came out of the gun, they actually sprayed, or they actually came out white. When I'm sanding them down, all this stuff here is actually white, so I have no idea what the heck that would be. So that's kind of strange, but anyway, I just wanted to give you a quick shot of that. Not sure what's going on there, but we'll keep on sanding. Alright, 6 p.m. Friday night, and we've sanded the entire hood back with 80 grit. Still have the polyester primer, but I've got all those little imperfections, those little dirt nibs sanded back down flat. I've done a little bit of spot putty here and there over those little imperfections, and we're just about to go back over and hit it with 220 grit. I just put the guide coat on to make sure that I've got everywhere sanded. After the guide coat's gone, then I know that's done. So I picked up the world's oldest can of 2K high build from a local store. I didn't want to drive over an hour to the body shop store and back, so hopefully this will mix up okay inside. And it's just the can that looks a little rusty. The bottom looks good. So anyway, hopefully that'll mix up okay. So that's about it. So we're just going to start sanding with the 220 grit, block it out, and then we'll hopefully spray with the high build. Alright guys, just coming up to 7:30, and the hood is now sanded back down to 220. I'm still baffled by these little white spots. No idea what they would be. Anyway, those are the items that spit out of the gun when I was spraying, so don't know. I did filter it, so I'm not sure what this would be. Anyway, they're sanded down, they're smooth, they're stuck there. You notice that I applied some filler here. I had a little bit of a dent there, and I think I mentioned I had a dent back there. So we're just going to finish this off. I did sand this area down with 80 grit before I put the filler on top, so we'll go back through and sand that when that's dry. Other than that, the rest of the hood is sanded down. So we're pretty much ready to go to the next stage again, which is going to be the high build primer. I'm a little bit scared to shoot it. I did mix it up. It doesn't look great, to be honest with you. But again, I don't have an option at the moment except for waiting. I'm kind of running out of time to spray this and have it done for the end of the month. Like I said, I'm on a bit of a timeline, and based on my work schedule, I'm not sure when I'm going to be able to get this finished. So better sooner than later. So anyway, we'll see. We'll make a decision a little bit later on. I gotta sand that filler down first and make that look good before we go to the next step. Okay, anyway. The two little spots of filler work are done, and just grease and wax removed the top of the hood, so it's all nice and clean. So I've decided that I think I'm going to pack it in for tonight. It's 7:45, and I don't think I can deal with any more failure today. So we're not going to attempt to spray the high build primer tonight. We'll probably get out of here tomorrow morning early and spray it, or maybe we'll contemplate it overnight and not do it at all. See you in the morning. Good morning guys, Saturday, September the 8th, just after 8 a.m. and we're just having a quick look at the hood slash bonnet project, paint project, and it's just waiting for its next step, and it's going to wait a little bit longer because it's darn cold out here this morning. It's showing, I don't know, probably about 17, 16 degrees Celsius, so like 65, which is a huge change from, you know, the previous week where it was, well, about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, we'll have to wait a little bit till it warms up out here, and then probably till 11 or 12 o'clock before we go to the next step, which will be high build primer on this project. So we'll do another little project in the meantime. We've got another set of stands set up, and we've got another little painting project. I'll bring you back in a second once I get it set up. Okay, here's the other painting project this morning. You may have seen these sort of lying on the floor of the trailer in a previous part of this video, and I didn't really talk about them then, but we'll talk about them a bit now. So as you might recall, when I put the TR6 in the trailer to do a fit check, we were having a bit of an issue with the elevation of the ramp, or the steepness of the ramp. So we figured that we needed some ramps to get up there a little easier. So my good buddy Glenn sent me an email with a link to a site called Race Ramps, and we took a look at the Race Ramp site and saw a few ramps that we thought would work. But if you go on the Race Ramp site, you realize just how expensive ramps can be. So anyway, the good thing about the race ramp site is that they had dimensions for the ramps that I was looking for. So that in turn led me to have a little chat with Ellen, and I gave him the dimensions of the ramps, and he ended up doing a CAD drawing of the ramps, and I bought the materials, and he managed to make these up for me the other day based off the dimensions and the CAD that he drew, and he dropped them off for me this week when he came to help with the trailer. So they look good. They're going to be perfect for what I need. Nicely reinforced in the back. They're not too heavy. They're going to be nice and portable. So I think what we'll do this morning, before I walk all over them, and you can see I've got a few footprints on here already, I think we're going to protect these with a little coat of paint. So we'll use the same paint that we used for the deck of the trailer. We'll use the marine paint, the deck gray. We'll just get a brush out and give those a quick couple coats of that gray deck paint, just to preserve them a little bit more before we walk on them or drive on them, whatever. We'll go ahead and we'll do that now while we can. While it's a little chilly to do the bonnet project, we'll work on those instead. So multitask. Okay, we've got the sides and the bottom painted with the marine paint, and I'm thinking of doing something crazy. I've got a couple cans of rubberized rocker guard, and I've had these in the garage, got to be more than 5 years or so. They're both, you know, unopened, brand new. Hopefully the aerosol part still works, but I'm thinking of actually sanding these with 40 grit and trying to rubberize rocker guard the tops of these. Might be an interesting experiment. What could possibly go wrong? Alright, looks like the rubberized ramps are going to work out okay. Seem to be pretty almost dry. So that looks good. Got a little bit of overspray on the sides, but not too bad. Anyway, they're just ramps anyway, but yeah, so I think those will be a little bit more durable than with just the wood surface. So yeah, I'm happy with those. When this paint dries on the side, I actually may go ahead and just rubberize the sides as well, or I might just leave it. Anyway, I'm going to check my primer. I bought this, I told you I bought this rusty can of primer. We're going to see if it mixes up okay. I'm sort of thinking about getting ready to paint. It's still too cold out right now, because I need it to be at least 60, and it's not quite there yet. So we'll mix that primer up and see what it looks like. If it doesn't look any good, then I may make the hour run to the paint shop. It's open till 2 today, so we'll have a quick look at that and make a decision. Alright guys, just coming up to 1:30, and finally got the Bonnet into high build primer. Seemed to spray out okay with that old primer. I got a little bit of stripiness. I know the camera has a hard time focusing on these on this hood in particular. I've noticed in my videos that I did some editing on yesterday. But anyway, it sprayed okay, that old primer. It's just sitting here drying. I can sand it in a few hours, about 3 o'clock or so. It did go a little heavy here in this one spot, but it's okay, it'll sand out. So yeah, it looks pretty good. It sprayed out well. I did reduce the primer a little bit with some reducer. Mixed it roughly 4:1 to 1, so 4 parts of the primer, 1 part of the activator, and then 1 part of reducer. And so it's got a sort of a medium build on it. And we got 3 coats on it. We used that whole can, or most of the can anyway. There's probably a little bit in the bottom, but like I said, I'm happy with the way it sprayed out, considering that that was sort of an older can of primer that I was a little bit worried about. I probably sprayed a little bit of, could have got a little wetter on this side of the hood, but it's not too bad. So, and I've got no pinholes, which is the biggest thing. Everything seemed to lay down okay with not any reactions or issues, so that's a good thing. Anyway, so 3 o'clock we'll be out here and we'll start to block sand. Alright guys, just coming up to 3 o'clock, and we're just about ready to wet sand this. We are going to wet sand it to 400 grit wet. We've just got our paper soaking here with a little drop of dish liquid, and we've got a soft block here somewhere that we're going to use to block this out. So there's what she looks like. I think I'm going to throw some guide coat on it, and Like I said, we'll get this sanded out, and if it's not too late, we might even get this into base and clear, because I don't think it's going to be warm enough tomorrow. So I'd like to maybe try to get this done if it doesn't get too late. I have to be concerned about the overnight temperatures as well. I want to make sure that it's warm enough for the clear to cure properly. So lots of stuff to be concerned about. It's hard to believe that I'm concerned that it's not warm enough, especially with the temperatures where they were last week. But hey, it is what it is. Anyway, let's get wet sanding. Alright, the center of the hood blocked out nicely, so just these edges are a little more complex, obviously, with the curves. But at least the easy part's done, and we'll go on to sanding the contours. That's coming up pretty nicely so far. So we'll keep going. Alright guys, just coming up to 5:20, and I've made a decision that I'm not going to go any further on the hood. I don't want to take any chances. The temperature is the factor here. It's only 62 degrees. It's going to take me probably, to get this into color and clear coat, it's probably going to take me a few hours, and the temperature is going to drop probably below 60, and I think I'm going to have a problem if that happens. So better to be safe than sorry. The only thing is I won't be able to get back to this now until next Friday. I've taken a look at the 14-day forecast, and next Friday temperature definitely looks better. It's like mid-70s. I think that's a better temperature for me to be spraying base and clear, especially with the hardener that I have for the clear. So anyway, I think we'll call it. Like I said, we'll drag this back inside. I'll give you one more look. I have primed those areas where I went through. I've still got to go back and resand these areas here, but I think it looks pretty good for the most part. Again, I don't know whether this is going to come through with the camera or not. There's a few little areas I want to touch up to. There's a little bit of a line, a sanding scratch line here that I want to sort of clean up a little bit. So there's a few areas I'll go back and touch up before I finally go to color and clear on this as well. So again, I don't want to rush it, and like I said, the temperature, and I think it's going to be the major factor that's making me decide that I don't want to do this, continue on with this tonight. So we'll stick it back in the garage, and we'll get back to it hopefully next Friday. Alright, it's just about 8:30 p.m. on Saturday night. I'm just working on uploading part 2 of the hood/bonnet painting, and I thought I would come out and check the lights on the trailer. In particular, I wanted to check the LED lights out. I haven't had a chance to check those at night yet, so I thought I'd just do a quick walk around, a quick hookup of the truck and a quick walk around of the trailer. Make sure all the lights are working as they should, and they look like they are. So yeah, there's that fender light working well now, which is great. That was the only light that wasn't working on the trailer. Good job, Lynn, on that. Fantastic. Everything works back here. And the big thing we want to see, and the really reason why I'm out here, is to check out the interior lights. You ready for this? Alright, here we go. Boom. It's like daylight. Yeah, those are awesome. Perfect. Okay. How's that? Those are super duper. Okay, we can turn this guy off if we want. There we go. Yeah, that's going to be really, really good. Alright. Really, really happy with those. Really happy with the lights on the trailer in general. So yeah. What a difference, eh? Perfect. Alright, that's it for tonight. Working on part 3. And this will be the end of part 3 probably. Thanks for watching.